Hello there, Bobo, the Bitcoiner is back from an overseas trip actually, and now continuing with part 2 of Bitcoin price is important, but something else is even more important. Bitcoin built a better world starting with sound money. In countries suffering under the authoritarian regimes or runaway inflation, Bitcoin becomes more than an investment. Bitcoin becomes a lifeline. Bitcoin isn't just a digital asset, it's a quiet form of resistance, a vote against the broken traditional system, a whisper of dignity. Even in a peaceful and wealthy country, Bitcoin is beginning to be recognized as important. They might not be in crisis, but because they are beginning to question the traditional way of control. Why do you need permission to send money? Why your account be frozen for whatever reason? Why are your savings eroded every year through decisions made by unelected officers? We take for granted about money, whereas Bitcoin is more than money. Bitcoin is a social movement. Bitcoin enables individuals who believe that power should be decentralized, that rule should be transparent, and control over money should belong to the people who earned it, not the institution who manipulate it. Bitcoin voice is a collective action of those who use it, build it, teach about it, and defend it. This is also why Bitcoin survived the bear market and the harsh criticism. Because Bitcoin is a conviction, the kind of conviction that doesn't waver when the price drops. Because Bitcoin believers are not here for the number, but for the principles. They have seen the truth. They know that what we are building is something bigger than any temporary gain or loss. So when someone dismisses Bitcoin is just an internet money, they are not seeing the thousands of meetups, the developers in the basement and coding for free, teachers explaining wallets to beginners, and the refugee protecting their life saving. Bitcoin is more than a currency. It's a mirror that reflects our relationship to trust, to freedom, and to responsibility. And for those willing to look into that mirror, it becomes more than a tool. It becomes a turning point, a new way of thinking, a new way of living. That far more than price is what makes Bitcoin truly exciting. So when we venture deeper into the world of Bitcoin, it's more apparent that Bitcoin is not simply a matter of better money, but a broader freedom. Bitcoin doesn't care who you are. If you are rich or poor, sanctioned or stateless, corporate-backed or self-employed. All that matters is whether you follow the protocol. Hold your private key, sign your transaction, broadcast it to the nation. That's it. No bank manager to convince, no government to notify, no profile to fill, no border to cross. Billions are unbanked or underbanked. Okay. Billions live under inflationary regions. Billions are excluded from the digital commerce, not because they lack value to offer, but the system doesn't recognize or accept them. Bitcoin changes that. It's a lifeline for the invisible, excluded, and marginalized. Traditional finance starts with exclusion. Prove your worth, your credit, your identity, and maybe you can join. Bitcoin starts with inclusion. Everyone can participate. It creates a world where access is the starting point, not the price. It treats connectivity and computation as a great equalizer. It open access naturally defied censorship because no one can control the internet. No one can block a transaction. There's no blacklist, no frozen account, no pause payment. If you can reach the network, you can use it. This makes Bitcoin profoundly resilient, not just technically, but ideologically. It becomes a tool of last resort in moments of crisis, protest, repression, or war. When power is limited, fairness becomes possible, right? When censorship is off the table, innovation will flourish. When trust is minimized, freedom expands. Freedom to save without debasement. Freedom to transact without surveillance. Freedom to build, invest, donate, and explore without structural permission. In this way, Bitcoin becomes more than infrastructure. It becomes a philosophy, a way to see financial freedom, not as a product to be purchased, but a right to be defended. Of course, this kind of freedom comes with responsibility. Bitcoin doesn't give you a hotline to call when you lost your key. It doesn't reverse mistaken payment. It doesn't protect you from scam or poor decision. But what it gives you is control. Okay? With that comes the needs for discipline, for learning, and for awareness. That's the trade-off. That's the cost of sovereignty. It goes far beyond any price chart. In Bitcoin, we see a system that is open and unbreakable, free and secure, where financial participation is not controlled, monitored, or rationed, but available to all who are ready. One where freedom or finance is no longer a privilege, it's a protocol. So while market cheers or panic when the price swing, quieter revolution continues to unfold in Bitcoin. A revolution of routers and relay nodes, wallets and white paper, people and principles. A revolution of access, a choice of unshakable personal freedom. What is the essence of Bitcoin when you strip away the chart, the hype, the fear, and the greed? The answer is simple and deeply powerful. Trust without betrayal. Rules without manipulation. Hope without permission. This is what sets Bitcoin apart from the market value. But the value it actually embodies. A promise encoded in mathematics, not politics, and a rare symbol of hope that quietly endure block by block. Bitcoin is stable where it matters. Its monetary policy, it doesn't shift with election cycle. Its supply isn't rewritten in response to a crisis. Its rule don't bend to serve the powerful. It is an anti-political by design. It removes monetary policy that intimidate and exploit. And in that removal, something new take root. Fairness, transparency, a level playing field for anyone with a connection and a willingness to learn. Critics often asked, what back Bitcoin? Answer simple, nothing but everything that matters. Backed by consensus to those who use it, by the honesty of open source code, by the thermodynamic energy of miners around the globe, by the economic incentive that aligns rather than compete, and most of all, is backed by time. Over a decade of uninterrupted operation of surviving folks, ban, hacks, clashes, and misinformation, Bitcoin still survives. Bitcoin has been declared dead 100 of times, yet it remains, not by accident, but because it solved the problem that no one else dare to solve. It is what the market often misses. The price moves fast, but the meaning moves slow. Bitcoin true impact isn't measured by the chart or the yearly returns. It measured in generation change, in the shift of consciousness from dependence to responsibility, from passive use to active understanding, from watching to participating. Because of Bitcoin, to own Bitcoin is not just to hold an asset. It's an engagement in a story of reclaiming power from the few and distribute it among the many. And in that story, volatility is, price is irrelevant. Bitcoin isn't volatile. The world is. The dollar is inflated. Banks are bailed out. Government change directions on the whim. Bitcoin simply react unthinkingly to the trouble or chaos around it. The price goes up, the price goes down, but the block time stays the same. The difficulty adjusts the same. The halving comes, the system carry on quietly, predictably, trustlessly. This quiet difficulty, this quiet continuity is the power. It doesn't need to sell itself. It just needs to keep on working. And it does every 10 minutes, every day, throughout every cycle. Bitcoin is simply offering an alternative. Take it or leave it, understand it or ignore it. But it will still be here whether you believe it or not. When someone asks, what's so exciting about Bitcoin, if not for the price? The answer is excitement in the architecture, in the principle, in the freedom it offers. Not a gift, but a challenge. The challenge to learn, to grow, to take responsibility, to think long term, and to build something that lasts. Bitcoin is a technology, but it's also a test. It tests your patience. It tests your conviction. It tests your understanding of value. And if you pass the test, if you begin to see beyond the noise, you realize price is never the real story. The real story is unfolding quietly on the change, on the note, in the conversation between strangers on opposite sides of the globe. A story of money, yes, but also meaning. And in that time, when trust is scarce and the control is tightening, quietly tightening, and the future feels uncertain, Bitcoin offers something rare, a foundation not a solution to every problem, but a place to begin building with rules that apply to everyone, with freedom that can't be revoked, and with value that can't be printed away. The price is short-lived. What lasts thing is the idea, the code, the network, and the quiet hope that maybe, just maybe, we can do money differently. Thank you for watching. I think that's good ending for today. See you again. Bye-bye.